Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of this AWS Cloud Technology where we are going to master it starting from the basic to the mastery. We're going to learn everything about the cloud technology. Now, friends, before we move ahead, I hope that you have looked at my previous videos. You have gone through those previous videos because it sets the tone to understand the AWS services. Specifically, we're talking about S3 here. And then in the previous two videos, I have explained what the cloud technology is all about, why is the buzzword around the cloud technology, and why all of the companies, the businesses, the entrepreneurs are trying to move towards the cloud technology and why they're trying to embrace it, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of the cloud technology. We have discussed everything in the first episode. In the second series or the second episode, we have discussed specifically, we have narrowed it down slightly, and we have discussed specifically about the AWS, why we are targeting AWS, because it's one of the leading cloud providers in the market currently, and what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, etc. We have discussed about that in the second episode. And this one right now that you're seeing on the screen is the third episode, and we have started to understand what the AWS is and the services within the AWS. Specifically today we are targeting the S3 or the simple storage service of the Amazon Web Services. So guys, before we move ahead, a quick introduction about me. Hi everyone, my name is Tejas. I am the cloud technology expert, and we together, you and me, will learn everything and master the cloud technology starting from the very basics. Because if your basics are not clear, you're not going to understand the concepts later. So it is really important, and I urge you all to go ahead and get your basics cleared. Look at my previous videos. Even if it is not clear, go and look at some other videos and the deep definitions of what is cloud technology, what is AWS, or why all of this is going around, why this buzz is all about. Just try to understand everything before you jump into the services, and I urge you all to do that because it is really important for you to understand this basics before we jump ahead. Alright guys, now before we move ahead, I urge you all to please subscribe to my channel. The channel is the Cloud Minds. That's my channel that I've started recently, and this is the third episode that we are shooting currently. Alright guys, let's move ahead. We'll understand what's in store for today. We'll try to understand the whats and the whys of S3. Why is it being used? What is S3 all about? The simple storage service. That's the reason why it is called S3, the simple storage service. What is the service all about in the AWS plan? We'll understand about what are the storage classes within the S3. And I told you yesterday, right, that before this video, in the previous video, I told you guys that we will look at 3 ways of creating, and today we'll discuss 2 ways because I don't want to make it very lengthy episode. I just want you people to be hooked to this episode. And before we move guys, I request you all to look at the episode completely because there are going to be bonus tips within the episode in between. I'll sprinkle it around so that you guys get a very good grasp, a very good understanding of what S3 is. Okay. So as I said, we'll understand 2 ways. The first way is getting your hands dirty. By that I mean logging into the AWS Management Console, searching for the S3 specific service, and then creating a bucket. So guys, yes, the container within the S3 or the simple storage service, the container which has all of the objects is called a bucket within the S3. So it is one of the containers, and it is the flat hierarchical structure. Of course, when you go inside it, it looks as if it has a hierarchy, but it doesn't have any. It is a flat structure. That is one of the important things to note. As I said, this is one of the bonus tips that I've given you that will definitely help you if you're preparing for the exam, or if you're preparing for solutions architect associate or the developer exam in the AWS certifications, this will definitely help you. And these are the tips that I'll be giving in between the videos. All right, guys. As we discussed, the first thing that we're going to do is get our hands dirty. We'll go ahead, search for the S3, create one of the buckets, and then try to upload any one, image or video or any of the objects within the S3 bucket. We'll try to delete the bucket, see if it can be deleted or not. And these are the important parts that we need to understand in S3. The second would be the automated way. Now, to automate it, here we are using something called as the Terraform. Terraform is the IAC, as we discussed in our previous videos, which is infrastructure as a code. So this is the code to create the infrastructure, and by looking at the code we could understand at what configuration the infrastructure currently is. Alright guys, let's move ahead. Let's try to understand the what's and the whys of S3. Of course, this might look pretty boring to you, and if you guys already know about this, feel free to skip this part, but I'm just going to read it pretty quickly so that the people who are novice can understand what the S3 is all about. So it is the scalable object storage service which is offered by Amazon Web Services. It is designed to store and retrieve any amount of data. It's highly scalable and it's highly durable. Any amount of data from anywhere in the world, you can log into any of the systems in AWS S3 Management Console, and you can download this data, provided you have the access to download those data. Now we'll come to all of those parts whenever possible within the content, the video that we are creating. Within that, wherever possible, I'll try to give the bonus tips as I said. But let's move ahead right now. So as I said, it is an object storage service where you can store different objects within the bucket. It's highly durable. Of course, the only exception for this 11.9's durability is the single IA class that we'll go ahead and understand in the next slide. As I said, it is highly durable. There is 11.9's durability, so it is next to impossible for you to lose an object once you have uploaded it into S3, because it is given out to different availability zones and it is spread across the globe. Highly scalable. Now guys, from KBs to petabytes, you can store any amount of data and it is highly scalable. This particular bucket would be highly scalable. It's of course reliable because of the durability. The reliability also increases on those objects that you can rely on S3 to retrieve those objects back. The next part is security. It is highly secure. It can work in conjunction with the IAM. It has its own bucket policies, and there can be access control lists also added to this, so that you can control what accesses other people can have on this particular bucket. Flexibility, of course, as I said, you can put any amount of data and any type of objects in this data, or the objects, any type of data. It's completely flexible. And like AWS provides most of its services as you go, you only pay for the amount of usage that you have used this service, or the amount of services, the S3 service that you have used. Only for the amount you pay the amount. It's called pay as you go model. Next, a very important part that we need to understand is the bucket names. Now guys, in S3 there is one very specific bonus tip that I'm going to give you here. The bucket names in S3 have to be unique across all of the globe, all of the S3 services, all of the account. It has to be unique everywhere. Now why is this? Many of the people try to understand why S3 has done such a restriction that your bucket name has to be unique across the globe. It is because S3 can be used as a static website. Yes guys, a static website can definitely be created by using S3 bucket. It can be given to public, it can be used to host a website as well, and S3 is that strong. It's capable to even host a website, a static website, on is its S3 bucket, and people can go ahead, interact with S3, try and understand. If you have a very simple website with only static pages, you can definitely think of using S3, and that's the reason why the bucket names have to be unique. All right, let's move ahead. Now we'll try to understand what are the storage classes. The first class that we're going to discuss here is the standard class. This of course is the default storage class for S3. It provides high durability, availability. It has all the 11 nines that we were talking about, and it's suitable for frequent data access. Now if your website, or if your company, or if your corporate expects you to have the data accessed very frequently, this is one of the storage classes that is recommended to be used. What is intelligent tiering? Intelligent tiering is the AI over it's the AI model that is sitting over the storage classes, and it understands the pattern of your usage of those objects, and it moves the objects between the standard and then the the glacier and deep glacier, deep archive, etc. Of course, you can also create these rules within the S3 bucket, but if you use the intelligent tiering, it will do it for you. And of course, there's a slight amount of fees that the intelligent tiering takes, but I think it is okay to pay that fees, and then have the intelligent tiering do it automatically, move the objects automatically for you instead of you creating the manual rules. Okay, so next one that we talked about was the one zone infrequent access. Here it is, the objects are stored only on one zone. That's where the durability slightly decreases, but it's not bad. It's still 99.95, which is pretty good durability we can think about, and it is a one zone infrequent access, similar to standard class. But the data stored is in single availability zone, and it makes slightly less expensive compared to the standard class. Glacier, now it is designed for archiving and long-term backup, and the retrieval time is slightly longer, and there is a retrieval fee as well when you go ahead with Glacier and Glacier Deep Archive. When you try to retrieve those, there is a slight retrieval fee because these are comparatively cheaper options to store your objects. Alright guys, so let's move ahead and understand the live demo. Now the live demo, as I said, has two parts to it. One is the UI part, where we get our hands dirty. We go ahead in the AWS Management Console, we try to understand how to create a bucket, and the second part is Terraform, the automated way using Terraform. And in this episode, I'm also going to talk to you or show you how to configure Terraform in a very simple way. Alright guys, let's go ahead and try and understand. Now, for example, this is the AWS Management Console that we have previously seen. In our previous videos also, we have seen how to log in or sign up to the AWS Management Console, and how to log in, and what is the screen that you have presented. If you want to search, you can just search here. It will provide you all the services. When you click on S3, you will be landed on this particular page, and if you're not, you can just scroll here and then click on buckets. Now if you see, there are no buckets as of now because I've recently come into this buckets part. This is pretty new, brand new account, and I'll just try to create a bucket here. As I said, the name of the bucket has to be unique, and we'll try to create some unique bucket names. Now let me try and use the name, such as, it has to be a long name because it has to be unique. Bucket, and I'll try to provide today's date, right? And let's see if this bucket name is available. Of course, if you want to copy the existing settings from any bucket, you can do that, but that's completely optional. You don't have to worry about the access control lists as of now. And this is the part where you can, if you remove the public access, then anybody around the globe can access your bucket and access the objects within the bucket. but it is highly recommended not to do that unless you have a static website hosted on S3. So moving ahead, bucket versioning. As of now, we don't need versioning. It depends on what your corporate or what your project demands. If your project demands that you need the versioning enabled, then here is the option to enable the versioning. Tags are something which will give some kind of metadata about your bucket, what the storage, the objects within the bucket are. Let's keep all the defaults as it is, because this is very basic that we are trying to understand to create the bucket. And let's go ahead and hit on create the bucket icon. Now see, the name was available, so we have the test bucket, my test bucket 28th December 2023, which is today's date. And if we go inside, we do not see any objects as of now. Now I'll try to upload one of the objects. This is very let me try and upload very simple object. I'll go to gallery. I'll try to upload one of the screenshots which is about which cloud technology is the best. This is the screenshot that I had downloaded recently, and then when I upload this, it has uploaded to the bucket. Let's close this and then see, this is the bucket that I am in, and this is one of the objects inside the bucket, guys. Okay, so this is one of the ways. It's very simple to create a bucket. This is one of the ways where we talked about getting our hands dirty. If you go ahead and look at this bucket, we have one of the objects inside the bucket. You can navigate. This is like the breadcrumb here, where you can navigate number of buckets. It depends on how many buckets you want to create, what kind of objects you want to keep, what region you want to put it, etc. Everything can be done here. Now guys, very important thing that I want to discuss here is when I'm trying to delete the bucket, it will not allow me to delete the bucket because it has objects. This is very important, guys. So the bucket, unless it is empty, we cannot delete the bucket. So what we have to do, there are two ways to do it. Either you can delete this particular object that is within the bucket, or here there is an object, there is an option to empty the bucket. So when I had written the wrong spelling of permanently delete, it did not enable the empty button. Did you see that? Yes. So if you give exactly the word, the pronunciation of permanently delete, only then it will allow you to delete or empty the bucket. Now if you see, it has emptied the bucket, and now if I want, I can go ahead and delete this bucket. It says deleting a bucket cannot be undone, etc. There are a few warnings. You can just say okay. Now the very important thing that you need to do here is copy the bucket name, because once you copy the bucket name, only then this delete bucket option will be enabled, because there will be multiple buckets. They just want you to be cautious of the fact that you are actually going ahead and deleting the bucket. Alright guys, so see, we have deleted the bucket, and this is the landing page of S3. Here is the burger menu. If you click here and go to the buckets, you land in the buckets. Alright guys, so this is one of the ways where you can manually create. Now the problem with manual creation of any infrastructure is that over the period of time, you will create a different infrastructure with different configurations. And then it is difficult for you to keep a track of what configurations you have done and what infrastructure, how many infrastructures you have created, what configuration is in that each of those infrastructure. It's difficult for you to manage. And that's the reason why they have introduced something called as an IAC, the infrastructure as code tool. And then what this does is it creates and keeps a tab on your configurations, and later point you can still go ahead and check if the configurations in the IAC tool have changed versus your actual buckets or your actual lambdas or other services that are within the AWS. A very simple understanding of the IAC. This is very simple understanding of IAC. Why people have started using the IAC? It is just to keep a tab on what configurations you have done to which services. And this IAC, as I said, it's code script Again, the script can be put in Git, Bitbucket, and all of the other versioning services. It can be versioned, all of those things can be done. So we have all those flexibilities when it comes to any code or script. But this is one of the major advantages of using the IAC tools such as Terraform. Now I'll give you a very quick introduction on how to install Terraform. It's pretty simple. You just have to download the Terraform repository or the zip file. As you can see, I've downloaded the zip file. I have just tried to extract it this is the Windows machine that I have used, so that is the reason why I have downloaded this. I have a 64-bit Windows machine and I have downloaded this zip file. You just have to extract it. Once you extract, you get this kind of a Terraform exe executable file. Now what you need to do after this, you just have to copy this path and then go ahead and edit your environment variables and set that in the path. I have just done it here. If you can see, the last one is for the Terraform, and then I have set the path to the Terraform. And when I go ahead and look at this, this is the Git bash, by the way, that I'm using. I love using Git bash. This is very simple to use. And when I say Terraform version, it will provide me the version of Terraform, guys. So see, it says 1.6.6 version is the Terraform. All right, guys, let's try and understand how we can create the infrastructure, the S3 infrastructure using this Terraform. This is, as I said, the installation of Terraform is pretty easy. I just did it in 2 minutes. And then let's see how we can create the infrastructure. Now, if you see here, there is no infrastructure as such. But when I say Terraform is an infrastructure as a code tool, what do I mean by that? When we go ahead and look at this script that I've created here, this is the code that will help us create the S3 infrastructure. If you see, it's pretty easy. Anybody can understand, read this code and understand. First is the providers that we give here. Why? Because as I said, Terraform is vendor agnostic. You can give any product provider, be it Azure, be it GCP, be it any other cloud services, or be it AWS. You can give any providers here and it will run in those providers and give you the infrastructure. How beautiful is that, guys? Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and configure the AWS provider. Now what we are doing is we are providing the region. Now I can change whatever region that I want, either whether I want US East 1 or AP Southeast 1, any of the regions that I want. I can create the regions, and then what resource I want an AWS S3 bucket, and the name of the bucket is such. And then if I want, I've just added tags. It is completely optional. If you want, you can add. If you don't want, you do not have to add. The one thing that you need to understand is the extension of this file. The file has to end with .tf extension. Of course, there are main.tf. There is a lot of things that is going on within the Terraform, but we'll just focus on creating this S3 infrastructure as of now. And the file has to be located. You can keep it. I have kept it as a separate script. If you see, this is the script that I had just created and I've saved it here. I just have to go to this particular location. If you see, the script is already present here. The commands that I need to use now are very important, guys. Please keep your eyes open and look at all the important commands that I'll be using. The very first important command that we need to use is to initiate the Terraform. We use the command called Terraform init. Now it's initializing. Now because I have already done it, it is showing the Terraform command. It is already I've used this previously, so it is not doing anything. It is just initialized this Terraform within this script. The next thing that we need to do is Terraform plan. Now when I say Terraform plan, what it does is it reads this script.tf file and it tries to understand what kind of infrastructure am I going to create. Now when I say Terraform plan, sorry, the name was wrong. When I say Terraform plan, It looks at the script as I said, and then it tries to understand what kind of infrastructure am I going to create, right? So if you see here, Terraform will perform the following action. What is it going to create? It's going to create a bucket, and it has a lot of other metadata also used to that. There are tags that have been used. Website domain, as I said, you can use this as a static website endpoint. We can configure that as well within the Terraform. We can make this host this website immediately, but we're not going to do that as of now. The third command that we need to look at is Terraform apply. When I say Terraform plan, it plans the overall infrastructure that is required, and this file, the .tf file I had shown, can have multiple infrastructure, guys. It can have lambdas, it can have S3, it can have EC2, it can have API gateways. These are all different services within the AWS, and we can have different services configured in the TF file so that it can understand what infrastructure to be created. Now when I said Terraform apply, this will start the process of applying it to the Terraform, to the AWS. But before that, there is one step that we need to do, is to create an AWS IAM role and then add those credentials here in the Terraform. You can Google that and understand how to create the access and secret access keys in the IAM and provide it to the Terraform. It's pretty easy step that will ensure that the Terraform and AWS get talking to each other. Now if you see, this is the Terraform apply that we have done, and then it has told us, it is showing us that it is going to create this infrastructure as of now. Let's go back to the S3 and let's try and refresh it. You do not find any buckets, but when I say yes only, it says only yes will be accepted. I can just say yes, and then it will start creating the S3 bucket. This is the beauty of Terraform, guys. It is an automated way. It is pretty simple, and then when you come back here and then start looking at it, there is the bucket that is created. This is very, very, very important, and this is a very fascinating way. You don't have to do anything. It is one of the ways where you can understand how the infrastructure is created and in what configurations they are all created. If you go back, it says it is created within 20 seconds. So the amount of time that we have spent right from installing the Terraform, right from there till creating an S3 bucket is not even few minutes. This is the beauty of automating anything, the infrastructure, for example, on the cloud. Alright guys, now if you see, it has already created the bucket. This is the first test bucket. This was the name that we had given within the script. You can scroll back and see if you want. We have already shown the script. You can scroll back a bit and then see what was the name given, and this is the exact name given within the script to create this S3 bucket. Alright, it's very simple for us. Now we have created the bucket, and you know what, I just don't need one of the infrastructures. There are two things that you can do. If you want to destroy all of the infrastructure that you have created using this Terraform script, it's a very simple command. It is Terraform destroy, and it will destroy all of the infrastructures. Or if you see here, the resources 1 added, 0 changed, and 0 destroyed, it says. Now what does this mean? If your Terraform file contains more than one infrastructure, for example, it contains S3, it contains Lambda, API gateway, and EC2, for example, and I just want to remove Lambda and I want to keep the other infrastructures. In the Terraform script, I just have to delete that code, that particular code. Let me go back here. If I want to remove the bucket, I just have to delete this resource. I just have to delete this resource and then run the Terraform file again. It will just remove that resource alone, and it will keep the rest of the configurations as is. Or if you want to delete the entire infrastructure, there's a very simple command, as I said, it's Terraform destroy. This will destroy all of the infrastructure this is created. One very important thing, guys. Now when we are trying to understand and create these infrastructures, trying to work with different things, it is often very easy for us to miss in all of the infrastructures, if we have created, for example, 10 infrastructure, it is very easy for us to miss. If we are doing it manually, it's very easy for us to miss deleting one of the infrastructures, and over a period of time it can incur charges. Of course, AWS gives you 1 year of free tier, wherein you have got most of the services as a free tier usage. But if you leave those services running, then they might incur charge at a later point in time, and you might end up paying that charges in spite of not using that. One of the beautiful ways, one of the best ways that I'll recommend is to use Terraform destroy. Terraform create first of all, apply, and then destroy command, because it will destroy all of the infrastructures that is being created using the TF file. Now when I say Terraform destroy, it will again create a proper plan, and it will tell you what are all the infrastructure that it is going to destroy, and only when you say yes, it will destroy it. Okay, now it has created a plan. If you see, it is going to destroy all of this infrastructure, whereas if you see here, the infrastructure is not yet destroyed. I could still use the bucket. See, I still have the bucket here. It is not yet destroyed. But when I say yes, it will start the destruction process of that bucket, and now it's gone. How beautiful is that? And this is one of the beauties of using the AWS infrastructure along with Terraform. It's pretty simple, guys, and I will highly recommend and urge you all to understand how to create infrastructure and go ahead and use this, be it Terraform, be it CloudFormation. CloudFormation is one of the services within the AWS, but it is specific to AWS only. So I would always recommend you go ahead and use Terraform. Try and understand. It's very simple, as we said. It's very simple to create the Terraform, get it talking to the AWS. You just have to create an IAM user, and say when you have created the user, you have to create the access key and secret access key, and you just have to provide it here. That's it. And AWS and Terraform, they start talking to each other and creating the resources. Guys, I hope you have liked this episode of creating the S3 infrastructure. About the S3, we have tried to understand. Let's go back and have a recap. We've tried to understand what is S3, the whats and whys of S3, what are the storage classes of S3. We've got our hands dirty creating the infrastructure or S3 bucket using our own hands on the UI, the user interface, going to the AWS Management Console. We've also seen how to configure Terraform within your system. I've showed you an example of Windows machine. If you have Mac OS or Linux, you can go ahead and look at Google. It's pretty simple, guys. I would highly urge you to go ahead and look at the Terraform, which is the infrastructure as a code tool. Alright guys, that was all about S3, how to create the infrastructure, both the UI manual way as well as the automated way. And in the next episode, we are going to leverage the CLI, the command line interface, and the CDK, the cloud development kit, to create these resources. Of course, even there I'll show you how to create. First of all, you'll have to go through the npm, the node package module, and then you'll have to understand what is CDK, how to deploy it. It's going to be a slightly lengthy episode. That's the reason why I have not included in this. I have just used two ways here. In the next episode, we are going to create the S3 infrastructure using the AWS CLI and CDK, which in turn uses the CloudFormation. Alright guys, it was really nice talking to you guys and teaching you all the knowledge that I have. The only request that I have for you is to subscribe to my channel, because the stats, it is just initial stages, but the stats suggest that 85% of you that are watching these videos do not subscribe. I highly recommend and I highly urge you guys to please subscribe to my channel and not go without subscribing. Alright guys, this is Tejas signing off, and you have a great day and keep learning. Don't worry, I'm here to make you the master in cloud technology. If you need something more, please do not forget to comment and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Alright guys, thank you.